Hi, everyone, and welcome to 2021's Metrocrest Chambers Mayor's Forum. We are so excited to have you all with us today. We know that we would have rather it be in person, and please stay tuned as we talk about other incoming or future events that we're going to have that are in person. But today, we're virtual with our three mayors, Mayor Chow, Mayor Falconer, and Mayor Dye, all representing their three cities today. We are really excited to be able to have this chance to get an update from all the mayors about the activities that have happened in the past year. But first, we want to thank a lot of great people that helped put this day together for us. First, we'd like to thank the Farmers Branch Firehouse Theater for hosting us today. We really appreciate them again hosting us for the second time for the Mayor's Forum. And we also like to thank all of the staff of the three cities. They have been wonderful to work with in helping us put this event together, and some of them are here in the audience today with us. We would also like to send a special thank you to our great sponsors that have helped also make this day possible. So first, I want to start off with our platinum sponsors. We have Truist Bank, Thomson Reuters, I may be a very big fan of that one, Oncor Republic Services, and Linebarger, Goggan, Blair, and Sampson. At the gold level sponsorship, we have the cities, which are Addison, Carrollton, and Farmers Branch. Thank you all for being sponsors for us today. At the silver level, we have Nations Brewing and Atmos Energy. And at our bronze level today, we have North Dallas Bank and Trust and Coppell ISD. We also have a great food sponsor today for us who are in the theater, and that's Ida Claire. Thank you all so much. I am one of the moderators for you today, and I will introduce the second one in a second. But I'm Gabrielle Madison. I'm Director of Public Relations at Thomson Reuters and have had the pleasure of also being the board chair for the Metrocrest Chamber in 2020. We are just very excited to have this opportunity today to be a part of this event. And I really appreciate you all plugging in with us through the past year and the efforts of you and so many others. We've been able to really increase and diversify our partnerships with those in the community. So for those that may not be aware, this year we lost our dear former president of the Metrocrest Chamber, Erin Carter. And we miss her, and we very much are hoping her the best as she now is the president of the Denton Chamber. So in this past summer, we had the tough search of trying to find a replacement for her. We will never replace Erin, but we are very, very grateful to have stepping into the role of president of the Metrocrest Chamber, Hayden Austin. Hayden has been with us now about 6 weeks. I know he probably thinks it's been like 6 years already, but we're very grateful for him. And Hayden has been just very on fire for this role. We appreciate his passion and his energy and his innovation in regards to things that we're going to do in the community. Hayden comes from having a background in workforce solutions and nonprofit. He is also completing his MBA in organizational management with Abilene Christian University. So please help me welcome to some and introduce to others, Hayden Austin.
Thank you so much, Gabe. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction. And I want to open by saying thank you so much, Mayor Joe Chow, Mayor Kevin Falconer, and Mayor Robert Dye for being with us today. To the audience at home, this is an honor. It truly is an honor for me and a privilege to take this position and be at the helm of the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce. I've been here for about a month and a half, as Gabe said, 6 weeks. And I will tell you that all of the businesses, nonprofits, education constituents, everybody that I've spoken with in the Metrocrest area has welcomed me with open arms. And so you all are doing a great job at welcoming people to your cities, and I can't wait to continue to serve you. Speaking of serving you, we have a mission at the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce, and our mission is to create economic prosperity for our members that involves providing programs, resources, and benefits for the businesses, governments, as well as citizens to result in a vibrant place to live and work. And so that sounds great, right? But how do we actually do that? How do we become electric and provide that mission? I want to offer up 3 objectives that the Metrocrest Chamber really wants to stand behind. One, pretty simple, support local business. We can do that in small ways, big ways. We can do that from afar or from a phone call, either way. The second objective is that we want to create community around business. The odds of a business thriving and being successful are much higher when they're involved in the community. And so that's something we want to do. And finally, the third objective. We want to be a focal point for economic development. Every single branch of economic development, businesses, government, nonprofits, education, you name it, we want you all to look at us as a connector and someone that can elevate you in economic development. So those are our 3 objectives. I'll finish with this. We are electric. That's what I want the chamber to be moving forward. Anytime you receive an email from us, anytime we step in your business or you log on to a Zoom event, we want you to feel that passion and that electricity for business and community. So thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed the event today. We sure are excited. And I will let Gabe go ahead and tell us what we're in for today.
Thanks, Hayden. So as we get ready for today's Mayor's Forum, we invite you all to participate in this event by bringing us any type of questions or comments in the chat. We have some great team members that are helping us to keep the record of who's asking the questions. And at the end, we will have a Q&A portion that we'll be able to answer those questions. So please remember, throughout the time, you don't have to wait till the end. You can go ahead and submit any type of questions that you have. I'm sure the mayors are open to answering. Last year, you may remember that the format was very similar to what we have today, except the fact that there was only one moderator, and today there are 2 of us. So we will be going back and forth, Hayden and I, asking questions of the mayors. But before we start the moderated piece of today's programming, we have a video to show you that's in regards to all of the cities. So let's play the video.
Hi, I'm Kevin Falconer. I'm the mayor of Carrollton. I've been mayor since 2017. I'm supposed to give you a fun fact, and usually when asked about a fun fact, I say I'm the mayor of Carrollton, but you already know that. So how about I'm an architect by day. I design restaurants. But what I think is probably more fun for me is that I have my 5th grandchild on the way due next year.
My name is Chow, Mayor of Addison, and this is my 11th year as Mayor of Addison. And my fun fact is, in 2007, I was honored by DFW International for Public Service Award. I was introduced as follows. Mayor Chow was born and raised in Taiwan and came into the United States in 1979 as an international stud instead of students.
I'm Robert Dye, and I was born and raised in Farmers Branch. I'm a proud graduate of Janney Stark Elementary, Vivian Field Middle School, and the R.L. Turner Lions. Some would say that I live and breathe Farmers Branch, which is why I was so excited to be elected mayor in May of 2017. I'm currently in my 2nd term, and we've been doing amazing things in the city. I'm excited to talk to you about the tremendous things we have coming up in the future. And one thing that you might not know about me, I have a twin sister, and many would say that I'm probably the least accomplished in my family. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you for creating those. I love that personal touch that we are able to give everyone watching. So, without further ado, we're going to start this panel discussion, and we are excited. So, question number 1. Before we dive into some more of the pressing issues that this last year has presented, we would like to start with reminding the citizens of your cities what your core values are as mayor. and how you have tried to display these in your time as mayor. If we could start with Mayor Dye.
I think probably going to steal everyone's thunder here because I'm sure we all have very similar core values, but at the core of it's just servant leadership. But for me, it's also love. I mean, this is my hometown. This is where I grew up. This is where I have my fondest memories. And so being in a position to be able to not only help others in the community, but to help businesses and to drive change, I also get to see the change that I've wanted to see in this community my whole life. And responding to feedback from our residents, to responding from feedback from our businesses, to be a part of that process and hopefully lead that change that we all want to see it gives me a sense of pride, and it gives me a sense of purpose, and the fact that we, do this out of the goodness of our hearts because we all have jobs as well. It's definitely a calling that we all have to have, and for me, and being in Farmers Branch, being in my hometown, truly is a calling, and I would say those are my kind of core values and why and how I lead here in Farmers Branch.
Mayor Falconer?
It's similar. So I follow that model of servant leadership. When I was asked many years ago if I might want to run for office for city council, I was like, I'm not a politician. So, and someone told me, they said, you don't need to be a politician, you need to be a public servant. And I said, well, I can do that. God gave me a heart of service. And I found that that has been very, very fulfilling for me. And I think that when you take the model of servant leadership, that leadership isn't a position of power. Leadership is a position that you serve others. I think, in my opinion, it serves everyone very well. And I try to remember that at all times. And it has been something that I think works well when we've gone through many of the difficulties that we've seen over these last several months, is that being able to serve others through those difficulties, I think, is the thing, and that happens throughout our community. I love that about our Metrocrest community, that we see those people everywhere that have those hearts of service, people coming together in times of difficulty and serving one another, and what do we get out of that? We become much stronger at the end.
Mayor Chow.
My turn. Being a servant basically is to provide superior service, customer service. So we always encourage all the staff, council members, to be kind, to be service-minded, and then get everything solved in a very timely manner. So whatever we do, we want to do just not finish my job, but also exceed all the other people's expectation. That's the core value to Addison. We call it Addison Way. And then I'm probably the most approachable mayor among us because I have the restaurant there. So often I came back to the restaurant, my wife would tell me, Joe, somebody's looking for you. So got some question or problem, so waiting for you. So that's kind of me. Not only you can email me, call me, you can just come to see me. I will meet you even without any appointment. That's kind of a value I provide, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So for those that may not know, all three of these mayors ran for re-election during the pandemic for their role as mayor. That's pretty heroic, seeing that you didn't know when the pandemic was going to be over. You didn't know what was on the other side of this pandemic. So I guess my question really is for you, what has given you the courage and the assurance that you can help your cities during this time? And I'll start with you, Mayor Falconer.
Well, the first thing I probably have to admit is that our filing deadlines was actually before the pandemic hit us, right? So we had already I'd already filed, but having said that, I feel like when those kind of difficulties arise, and this was extraordinary.
Yes.
The consistency of leadership probably was something that was important. If we had transitioned in the middle of that, I think it would be a much more difficult process.
Yes.
So, and the time for a true leader, the time to step in is in those times, not in just the good times. So I feel, again, back to that public servant point, is a servant, you go in and help when the help is needed, not just when there's some glory for it.
Love it, love it.
I always have a thicker skin because I always believe, during the crisis, you need to have a leader with experience and also leadership. So I always believe I have gone through so many years as mayors. Not only I have those experience, but also I know a lot of people. I can solve a lot of issues. So I filed, as a matter of fact, before that even happened on the very first day. Just always hope, I will be reelected. So I'm ready to fight.
Love that.
And then what happened is I ran unopposed and up. So I'm very happy,
That's because they knew you were ready to fight.
fighting for the election, So, but I always believe the people live in Addison has a lot of faith in me. So I'm very happy. I want to thank all the people who have supported me. Yeah.
Good, good. Mayor Don?
Well, much like Kevin, we had to file beforehand, but thankfully, the state legislature and everyone moved the election from May into November on the presidential ballot, which was unique for all of us.
Yeah,
And
that was thankful.
what a, huh?
That was thankful.
We get to say we got a lot of votes.
Yeah,
Exactly. A lot more people to the polls.
It's reassuring. But it shows that they wanted that continuity of leadership through that difficult time. And by the time the election had come around, we had seen the worst part of it, and we were slowly starting to come back out. There were still some concerns, but a lot of the hard decisions had been made. A lot of us had worked with our city leadership in terms of staff, worked with our first responders, and had overwhelming consensus from our communities on what we wanted to see and how we wanted to live and get through this pandemic together. And so I think seeing people that are able to step up and make those decisions like we were able to do, and do so in a way where we felt confident and didn't back off from what we were doing. It showed that leadership, and I think it shows the community that we were the right people to continue to lead going forward. Because if you can get through that, what can you lead through in the future? And the reason I re-ran is because much like probably both of y'all, I wasn't done with things that I still wanted to get accomplished and see through in the city. And so, that gave me the confidence and the drive to push through. But, during those tough times, knowing that the community was counting on you, you had to, pick up the phone and call someone strong like Joe to find that confidence to lead through this. And so, it was tough, but I think it made us all stronger, all better, and I think it made all of our communities a little bit stronger as well. So, just thankful to be back for another final term, but it's definitely good.
Okay.
If I can say, add on to what Robert mentioned, is that we had to make a lot of difficult decisions, and by the way, with very little information. But what was very reassuring, certainly for me, and I think that you just mentioned, is that many mayors came together, and especially having these two, the relationships that we've built as Metrocrest cities, we're like brothers, right? I mean, and that helps so much. I can't, the number of times that we talked about, are we really going to have to shut down dining rooms and restaurants? And I'm in the restaurant business. Joe's in the restaurant business. Robert
Eats at a lot of restaurants.
Eats at restaurants all the time. But that was that support that we were able to have among the three of us is something that's special.
Yeah, we share ideas. We meet routinely. We exchange all the ideas. So make our community even better.
I love that. And we thank you all for that. And we thank you all for persevering throughout the pandemic and what you're doing now. This has been remarkable, seeing the 3 cities come together, everything from PPP to the PPE. I mean, it's been amazing. And the way that you have helped the Metrocrest Chamber community, all 3 cities have been instrumental in helping us as well. And we thank you all.
So the next topic we want to bring up is about business migration. So we have seen an influx of businesses coming to each 3 of the cities in the Metrocrest area. And we would like each of you to speak to the industries that are booming in your cities and how that is affecting your local economy. Can we start with Mayor Chow?
Certainly. First of all, I have to mention this. Texas is one of the 7 states do not have state income tax. So that's the greatest benefit for people having business in the state of Texas. So the other thing is Addison has so many different kind of housing opportunities, like Addison Circle, Vitruvian. It's very easy to find the talents. You know, we have a great workforce. Besides, business like to cluster together, like all the insurance companies, all the banks like to get together, opened up at the same similar location, you know, in the same region. So it gives us a lot of benefit. Besides, we have a great economic development department, you know, Orlando Campos and his staff, you know, visit and retain a lot of good businesses. So I'm always a part of that. So I'm really pleased with the outcome. I believe we're going to be even more booming, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the 3
Yes.
cities, yeah.
Yes.
Mayor Falconer.
So similarly, we've actually during this time have done quite well. Largely, Carrollton has a large industrial warehouse base, and you can imagine that during this time, much more online activity, those things, right? So that has created even more demand for those spaces, and we're at actually over 96% occupancy, which is it's basically full, right? Yes. It's one of the hardest things we've got now. When people come and say we'd like to have where we're like it's kind of full. So, but we and we continue to see even our retail and restaurants. We're really proud of the fact that obviously it's been a very tough time for many of our restaurants, but we actually have more food establishments in Carrollton now than we did in 2019. Wow. So we obviously, and now if you're one of those struggling restaurants, that you know it's still personal, and we've done many things to try to help with that. But I think it shows it's a good barometer for how well things are going here in the Metroplex in North Texas.
Yeah, and I mean, just it's not just Farmers Branch, but when you think of Addison and Carrollton as well, you think of our location and how prime it is in the DFW Metroplex in terms of our proximity to downtown Dallas, to all the growth that's happening north in Frisco and beyond, but being close to 2 major airports, you know, you can see why people want to choose our location. And, you know, Joe touched on it, you know, the number of people that are moving into Texas right now. It's not just corporations, it's people. Like 120,000 people a year are coming here. They're looking for housing opportunities, you know, they're looking for jobs with the corporate relocations. It's just a prime time to be in this area and leading, and we're thankful to have the economic development groups that we have and the leadership within our city staff that is finding unique ways to incentivize businesses to come here. And what we're hearing from a lot of people is, you know, given that we're not a 4A, 4B city, which means we don't have our 1 cent in sales tax back to, you know, put towards police and fire, towards more economic development. I mean, we're, you know, DART cities, and we give to help promote and, you know, be a part of public transportation to help people, you know, navigate and be mobile in the DFW region. You know, we have to get a little bit more creative. And so, you know, with Allison Cook's leadership, you know, John Land, our entire team, they found ways to give businesses what they need to come and relocate here. But, you know, we're not having to give the millions of dollars that Frisco and Plano and some of these other cities are offering up to get companies in. They like our location. They like where we are relative because of the base that they can draw from for their employment. and the transit, and it's huge. And so, those things have been beneficial, not only to Farmers Branch, but I think to all of our communities, as we've just kind of seen that explosion, and we've all greatly benefited as we've seen it hit our tax base, and allowed us to do a lot more for our community. So we're thankful for these businesses that are coming in and choosing our communities, because it's not just to help them, it helps all of us together. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful time.
Right, and I think the consistency that I see there from what each of you just explained, and what's so wonderful about your three cities, is that whether someone lives here, works here, or both, y'all are welcoming and willing to work with them, with their business, with their families, whoever it is, to get them here and allow them to benefit from the resources that y'all have. And the chamber is loving it too. We're excited to continue to do that as well. So I love the consistency, and I love the open arms feel that y'all provide your businesses.
Yeah, I just make a few comments. In Carrollton, over Old Denton Road and George Bush Turnpike, in 3 different corners, all the business growing.
Oh,
huge. I even sometimes shop over there because I didn't have a choice, so that we didn't have those stores there.
Millions of people per year come to that
also,
intersection.
you can see the price for the new homes, older homes, went up tremendously. Then you'll see that there are more demand than supply. That's the very basic economy,
Our cities are all top nationwide real estate markets.
Yeah.
Which is not Texas, not North Texas, in the entire country. And I think, again, that's a good barometer of what's going on.
So my next question kind of goes in the opposite way of what we've been talking about, which is lately we've heard on the news about the Great Resignation. So not the Great Migration, but the Great Resignation. And it's affecting a lot of companies, and it's a global epidemic that we're going through right now. And according to the U.S. Department of Labor, during the second quarter of this year, a total of 11.5 million workers quit their jobs. And recent studies indicate that it's not likely to be over, as a survey conducted by Microsoft found that 41% are considering quitting. Now that number jumps to 54% when Gen Z is considered. And our question to you all is this on the radar of the cities? Have you all even started to see impacts of that Great Resignation hit your cities, your businesses?
I think this trend happens right at the time pandemic started. And I'm one of the victims myself. I'm a restaurant owner. It's so hard to find the people working in the restaurant. Don't even talk about the experience. It's hard to find a good waiter. All the labor cost is high. Now you want to find a dishwasher, you have to pay like $15 per hour.
Right.
But you will never quit. I will never quit my business. I will make changes. You have to adapt yourself to the new situation. Yeah. So I focus on takeout deliveries is one way. The other thing is you have to be smarter. Some people already start to sell AI. So AI can take order. So you punch in. If the customer sat down, they do themselves. Then the AI go to the kitchen, and then your kitchen staff load the food. So the AI will go to your table side. You pick up your own food. But I'm not really for it. I think it got to be feeding still served by someone. However, in the beginning, I bought a lot of carts. So instead of in the traditional way, you need to carry the tray, heavy, you got a lot of breakage. So you just put everything loaded on the cart and push it out. Doesn't matter if it's 2 people, 10 people, you can load it, save you a lot of energy. Then you don't have to train those waiters to carry those trays. Yeah, you have to make some changes. So make things happen, yeah. And probably got hit the most is hotel industry. So the people don't have convention anymore, don't have big gathering anymore. So that's the what as mayor we always try to help is especially the hotel. Yeah.
Mayor Dye.
I'm glad Joe went first there because I know he is dealing with this directly and would have, the best kind of insight into, what he's seen from that. But recently, just going out, and one thing that I would just caution everyone as we're kind of dealing through this, and as the statute gave out are real, like it's practice patience and grace.
Yeah.
I've been out to eat, and you have to understand that restaurants are going to be understaffed. They're not going to be sitting as many tables. Hours are changing a lot across businesses. Like Starbucks the other day, I was there to pick up a quick coffee, and the hours posted like we have new hours from 5 to 6 had been crossed out to now 5 to 3.
Yeah.
And so how are they meeting the demands? I mean, we're having supply chain issues. We're having workforce issues. We're having just issues across in terms of commodities increases, and what we're all going to have to figure out over the next 12 to 24 to 36 months is probably how is inflation, how is the new workforce demand in terms of wages and everything going to trickle through the entire economy. It's not just how is it going to impact businesses, it's how is it going to impact every single one of us in our lives, and what used to be normal, and we're tired of probably saying it, what will be the new normal in terms of your dining out experiences, but your shopping experiences and everything else, and what you're going to pay for things. And so, we have to be aware of that, but it's listening and working with our chambers to get that insight from our businesses and what is it do they need? How do we prepare either new workforce training, through either our colleges or through different efforts, or how can we help from the city side, help them accomplish what it is that they need to accomplish. And so without having those partnerships, without, leaning on the chamber, without leaning on our businesses and having those conversations. I mean, Kevin does a great job with your small business council, in terms of bringing people in and having these conversations and understand that. I think more of that probably needs to be done from our standpoint as we're trying to navigate this. But this overarching message from me is, if I've tried to experience and remind myself when I'm out there, it is patience and grace, and understand that these small business owners are fighting tooth and nail, like Joe had mentioned, to get through this. And we can help support them by, bringing that attitude to their businesses, but continuing to support them through these times. So,
Mayor Faulkner?
Well, I agree with what both of the mayors said. I'm no economist, but this is a nationwide problem. I believe that it's one where the pandemic has caused all of us to reevaluate a lot of things. And
Sure.
so I think what's important and what I do and how I do it, all those things. So I think that, first of all, I think that this as always in our society, this will pass. It will pass. Not necessarily that everybody's just going to come back and do the same thing. I think, as Robert was saying, I think that we start to recognize as business, and I'm in the restaurant industry too, and it's a tremendous struggle right now. And we're adjusting hours, we're adjusting deliveries, but at the same time we're doing some of the things that Joe mentioned. Where how do we make this job, which I feel like we always have tried to do this, but it puts it first and foremost, how do we make this job into something more than a job, right? How is it something so that, and that's about building culture and doing those things, but it's a struggle nonetheless at the moment, and I don't think it's going to go away like in a month. I think in the end, technology comes into play, things that, sometimes those things that are not the greatest jobs, right? And we can think back in past times, right? Automation and things have taken those very unhealthy jobs and replaced them with technology. And I think that you'll see some of those same things happening. I see it in the restaurant industry. We mentioned this. And I think that we start to let the quality of life of our workers improve. And so I think we get there. As cities, it's a little tough because we can do not lots. We don't have a big lever on this one like we do on some things. Mm-hmm. But I think, as Robert said, remembering it's be patient. If you go to the store and it's closing early, there's probably a reason. It's not time to be mad at them, right? It's that everyone's having to figure this out, and I think ultimately, in the end, we're going to be better and stronger for it.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, patience and grace. I love it. We're gonna preach that all the way. So now we want to talk about the climate of combination of workspaces in the hospitality industry, and by that I mean we love a good work-life balance when we can get there. We are always aiming for that with our families, with our activities that we do through our hobbies, all of those things. So sometimes that scale doesn't always go in our favor, but I would argue that Addison, Carrollton, and Farmers Branch are leaders and innovators in providing wonderful spaces for both. And so what are some of the ways that you all are seeing workspaces in the hospitality industry start to develop together around your cities so that citizens can have that work-life balance? Let's start with you, Mayor Falconer.
Well, so this is a great question. I do believe that we've been thinking about this since for many years, right? And I think that it's coming to fruition. But many of our developments now, we have live-work arrangements. So you can have a restaurant or retail space below, and you can live right above. And so we're seeing that very popular ideas. But I think the other thing is that that we are situated again, I believe, all three of our cities, in a very unique situation. We're currently working on a major development, our Trinity Mills Station, where we will have mixed-use development. I think, again, we've talked a lot with our partners and our developers on that, because we're like, okay, COVID, is anybody going to be in an office anymore, and all those things. And none of us have a crystal ball, but what I've heard, and I believe this, is that offices won't go away. They're going to change. They're going to change. Maybe you may not be there every single day and those kind of things, but you're still going to have offices. You're still going to have places, and there's some things that restaurants, you have to be there. And so I think that what we hear is that people are starting to reevaluate, do I really want to drive, from Allen to downtown Dallas, right? And so we are in a unique situation that we have much of the interest now is on our suburban developments, where we can have, so we're pushing forward with Class A office development. There'll be some COVID-friendly pieces to it, but we think that because they say, our developers like, this is what they're going to want because it's close to home. We're going to have home right there too, because it's a mixed-use development. And I think that you see that in Addison and Farmers Branch too, where we are getting to the point where people want to be much more integrated into the community and not having to spend all of their time making long trips.
I mean, I concur with what Kevin's saying on that. Like, I don't think office is going to go away, but it's what are we doing as a community to help supplement and complement these type of developments in areas that are struggling right now in terms of hospitality. I mean, I actually just came from a brand new hotel this morning. I was in San Antonio, left at 6 a.m. to get back here for this. But what you're starting to see is there's a bar in there, there's a restaurant, there's shops and markets and some of these things that give people in space designated for people to work, because they kind of want all of those wrapped into one. And that's kind of the same approach I think that we're taking in some of the areas that we're looking to redevelop in our city. Much like Carrollton is doing at their Trinity Mills Station, we're looking to do at our DART station. How do we add restaurants, coffee shops, the right kind of workspace and hospitality efforts that come together to support an area and really breathe life into something that give people a reason and a purpose to be there, and not only to be there, to want to be there, but also close to their home. And we're doing the same thing on our east side. But what amenities do you have in your city that allow people to get outdoors, with our new library renovation, right? Like, we've added and enhanced Wi-Fi efforts so that people can be more connected in and around that building and not necessarily have to be inside of it. And so, just paying attention to some of those things, with our new rec center renovation, right? 9,000 square feet, but it's more open and spacious and kind of gives that feel of how things are changing, but is amenities that we don't offer just to our residents. If you are a business community within Farmers Branch, you can use these facilities as well, much like you would if you lived in the city. And so opening up your doors and your amenities in your communities to businesses and to the residents to come together, I think is a benefit, and things that we're looking to, how do we collaborate in different ways to build better spaces for people that make it enjoyable, make the businesses want to move here and the people want to work here. Because if they're here and they're working and they're spending money here, it's better for all of us across the board. It's better for the businesses that need that business, and it's better for us as a tax base as we look to not only bring in more money for our city, but reinvest in ourselves so that it just compounds and keeps getting better and better.
I agree, but I always believe adaptation during crisis is more important than anything else. Like most business now have employees work at home remotely. But I agree with the two mayors, there's still need to have an office. Since I have friends, work at home, not so productive as when he was in the office. So, but you don't need to have a big office anymore. So you can have shared open space. When Robert came in, this is your desk. Then he came in on Monday. Then Kevin went there on Tuesday, and I go there on Thursday. So everybody can share the same desk. So you don't actually need a big space, just like a restaurant. You don't need to have a big restaurant because when pandemic came, nobody partied as many as before. So company don't have a conference as many as before. So it's kind of a waste. So you have to adapt yourself to, number one, survive first, then to make a big success. So that's what I have done, and I believe this is future trend. But we still have like 80-some% of occupancy for office space.
Yeah.
So we're still doing well. There are some benefit for people get together, just like we still have a council meeting. we had a Zoom meeting for 2 months.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it. So we still get together at the treehouse. So it's bigger. We space out with distancing. So there are benefits. You can exchange ideas right away, right? Get the thing done more efficiently. Yeah.
And we're remodeling City Hall, so I'm glad to know I can borrow your office if I need to.
Certainly, you can.
Good.
That's what good neighbors about, right? I will always say good neighbors are better than relatively far away, right? Yeah.
And I think what I've seen personally, I moved into the Metrocrest area at the beginning of September, and what I've seen the three cities do at the turn of this decade is that y'all are looking, you all as cities as well as the businesses, everybody that's affiliated with us, are looking at the whole person and seeing how they can look at the whole person, their work and their life, and figure out how to help their business or help their city, their organization. And so I love that these three cities are innovators in figuring out how to get the most potential out of the people that live and work here. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful goal that we're taking care of.
Great.
Well, now to the money question. So I think your cities are completing your budget year for 2022 and beyond. And so from the business perspective, how do you see your budgets helping the businesses as we move towards more productive times in our communities?
I'm really proud of being a mayor in Addison. All our staff work diligently and in a very smart way. So we have a pretty good sales tax revenue than expected since pandemic. It's a big surprise. So we still kept about more than 40% reserve. So we are one of the 10 cities in state of Texas. There are about 1,250 cities in state of Texas, big and small. So one of the 10 cities have both AAA bond rating from S&P and Moody's. So we were very fortunate, have very smooth budgeting process. So we'll be able to reconstruct Midway Road, yeah, and then we are having the master developer coming to develop, which how we call transit-oriented development, right by Dart Station. So Addison Airport will build a new U.S. Customs facility and, administration building for airport. So we are welcoming all the people from overseas travel to Addison.
Awesome.
So I'm very pleased. Our general fund revenue, is increased. So, everything is good.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the patience we need to have with restaurants and going out, we need to have patience on Midway Road.
Yeah.
Because it is
All of it.
challenging.
But you have to understand, this is a more than 40 years old
That's
street.
very true.
And also we are welcoming more redevelopments coming in. So you have to upgrade all those infrastructure. So,
Yes. Awesome.
so I know this is the pen, but for 3-4 years, you will enjoy it.
First, you have to pave the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor Falconer, what about you?
So we're very proud. We adopted our 21-22 budget a month ago or so, and I think the thing that businesses should be most excited about is that we've cut our tax rate again, 8th consecutive year in a row, which I think may be a record for cities in Texas. And so, and we see that as part of that consistent, steady way of giving back, right? Is that we want to continue to do that wherever we can. That takes our tax rate to the lowest since 1995. We feel like that is a good example of how we want to make sure that we are being good to our residents and our businesses that call Carrollton home. The other thing that it would AAA bond rated as well, but part of that is our businesses and residents don't see it directly, but it plays into the whole thing, is that we've decreased our debt burden from over 25% 9 years ago to less than 20% now, and continuing to do that with more pay-as-you-go and less reliance on debt. And that allows us to be much more nimble and aggressive on things because we don't have a large debt burden that we're dealing with, and so we can respond very quickly to financial issues that are coming about. So.
Awesome. Mayor Dye?
Much like Carrollton and Addison, we adopted our budget, about 3 weeks ago. And in previous years, we had pushed to reduce the tax rate and had done so successfully. But this year, given some of the growth that we had, given some of the opportunities, and given some of the things that I felt we needed to do and the council felt we needed to do, we held our rate steady. So we're exactly where we were last year, but we're adding parks. We're reinvesting in our facilities. We're adding more money into our street and infrastructure funds, which the money we added this year is going to make it to where we won't need to go out for debt in the future like we had in the past. So once that debt rolls off, we're free and clear going forward into the future in terms of taking care of our roads and maintaining, our city infrastructure. And the things that we're doing there are seeing effects that go beyond just the longevity of these items. It's, we're able to hold our water rates flat. We're able to see reduce sewage and other costs because we're not getting that leakage and some of the other stuff that we're doing in our I&I budget. And I think reinvesting in ourselves that way to make sure that future councils don't have to worry about where are we going to get the money for some of these things. As Kevin was mentioning, their debt's under 20%. Ours is at or just under 12%. And so, several years ago, we brought our road fund way down, and during my administration, we brought it right back up and put it at a level that's going to allow us to self-sustain as we move out into the future. And I think that's key. But we're also, in terms of that budget, with the difficulty that we're seeing across the country as it relates to our first responders and more specifically our police, how hard it is to try to get new hires. We authorized overhires We said, we understand that retirements are coming. We understand that there's a need to get more officers in the city to maintain a safe community because the businesses look for that and our residents definitely want that, and that's a priority for our city. And so we've added some of that as well. And all of that kind of fell into the big discussions that we had an opportunity to reduce our rate a little bit and could have done so and said, hey, we reduced our rate again. But we thought that the better objective there is to make sure that we gave our first responders the tools they needed to react and keep our community safe. And so we said, no, we're going to use those funds that where we would cut to go hire some more people and get out there and get out in front of some things so that we don't have these challenges in the future. And that was kind of the way we looked at it this year. But I think our city's in a really great spot. I mean, the amount of growth that we're seeing from all across our city, whether that's commercial development or residential development, has boosted our tax rate. And I think we've really been able to do some great things in terms of not only investing in ourselves, but investing in our future the right way to where, as Kevin mentioned, and I know Joe, they believe it in Addison too, it's, how do we get more of that pay as you go? How do we keep that within ourselves? Because as debt rolls off, it's just going to get cheaper and cheaper for not only our residents to live here, but our businesses to operate here as well. So.
Very true. And thank you all. Just a reminder to the audience that we have a few minutes left in our panel discussion, and we'll be looking for your questions. So please put them in the chat, and we'll review them shortly.
Yes, so second to last question from us. Want to talk a little bit about business advocacy. The chamber, the cities, we're always trying to advocate, and that means putting a lot of work in for our businesses. So on September 1st of this year, more than 650 new laws went into effect per the Texas legislation. We are a state known for having an interesting biennial legislative session, but this one is definitely in the lead in comparison. Can you speak to anything in particular that you know is going to have an effect on businesses in your cities and how we might be able to advocate for them moving forward? And I'll leave it open to whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, I want to mention just a couple. Yeah. And the Senate Bill 6, and they propose pandemic liability shield. So in other words, if because somebody conveyed COVID-19 at your establishment, you are not going to sue anyone, The other is, House Bill 1578, and they talk about, city always engaged in different kind of unexpected civil lawsuits. So you are able to recover the lawyer's fees. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if somebody intentionally want to fraud you, right? Mm-hmm. Then it's in legal battle for years. It costs tons of money, but it end up city win, right? Then they don't pay back the lawyer fee. Right? That's too much. So that's the reason I think they pass those two laws have a lot of impact to the city, actually beneficial to all the cities. Yeah.
Which is amazing that happened in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, we, and I said that a little bit jokingly, but we as cities have been a bit under attack from Austin in prior sessions. We actually, I think we benefited this year because they were so focused on having to fix the grid. Yep. And the issues that came about with that I think that their target wasn't on us, which is a good thing. And when I say that, it affects our businesses when those things happen. But there is one major one that it wasn't an actual legislative action, but it was I guess more of a lack of legislative action, and that is that the comptroller is as prior to the session has suggested and wants to implement a change to how intra-state transactions get paid the sales tax, and it's currently origin-based. So he's proposed it would go to destination-based. And for most of our cities, that is a bad thing, and it's a bad thing for a couple reasons. It's a bad thing because we're changing the rules that have been in place for years. And it's a major change, so it affects us, I think, all very much negatively. In Carrollton alone, we estimate it could be as much as $8 to $10 million a year. But the other piece is it affects our businesses, and especially small businesses, Because now, take it for example, a small business in Carrollton that is sending out something, and they know they just send their tax to Carrollton, right? And then they have to do the. Now, I believe there are over 2,000 taxing jurisdictions in Texas. So now they're going to have to put something in place to figure out how they can then send that tax to 2,000 different places. That's a tremendous burden for a small business. And it's never been done in a state the size of Texas, and we think it would be detrimental overall. There'd be a loss of tax revenue to many people where it goes to unincorporated areas. It's a bad thing. And the legislature had some bills, and I guess the good news is they didn't have any that backed that up, right? There were a couple of bills that were going to go through to basically codify that as the way to do it. They died, but the comptrollers decided to continue with that despite the fact that the legislature actually killed bills that would have given him the legal right to do it. He's doing it on an executive decision. That's a big problem, and it's one that there's some legal action on that right now, but it stands to make a major impact to our businesses here in the Metrocrest.
And in particularly, going back to what you said in regards to Carrollton's warehousing,
Yes.
Your infrastructure to have that much of a warehouse district can definitely impact the city in regards to
Absolutely.
that. So
Absolutely.
we'll keep an eye on that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as Kevin touched on, I think that's the biggest thing. And we've, as a city, have kind of signed on with several other cities to fight this, just because we realize that impact. I mean, as a city the size of Farmers Branch, a few $1 million in sales tax goes a long way, and we need those dollars. But when they're also capping our revenue capabilities and then putting this on us, you're making it twice as hard. And we're fighting for every dollar. We're fighting for, making sure that our cities are staffed appropriately and that we have the, first responders in place and that our basic, needs are taken care of. Putting those pressures on us by changing these rules that have always been in place, that we've structured deals and arrangements and other things, and are counting on certain things to just change that, I think it's kind of offensive, and they don't really realize the true impacts that they're having, because in commercial areas like us, sometimes we feel it's an assault on Austin against the 5-6 major cities, but the impact is the suburbs that are around these cities as well, that are, we have our own little independent economy that we're trying to balance and navigate. And so to me, it wasn't, the bills that happened in the Senate and the House, there was some good stuff. There was some stuff that was, I guess, maybe not advantageous to cities, but the big effect would be what the comptroller's trying to do. And so I think seeing cities from across the state come together to try to work to stop this, it shows you how important it is to the smaller cities, not only in North Texas, but across the state.
Well, you sit on the dartboard.
Yep.
There's a good example of they make decisions long, very long. I mean, we do too, but DART especially long.
20-year plans
based on projected revenues, which are virtually entirely false.
Also, 90% of the revenue that comes into DART is sales tax based from 13 cities, 3 of us included.
And so you change those rules after those things are in place. That's
huge.
That's
Yeah.
not a good way to run
A
a business.
huge impact.
in Texas.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the education for our cities and for the businesses in our cities to understand is the implications that this could have on them. The reasons why they come to the cities is tied up into some of this sales tax revenue and the benefits that they receive from it. So it's very important that they understand how these tax laws could change, how the legislation is driving other opportunities in different ways. And it's very important for us as the chamber to help our members to understand what the implications for them could mean, for sure.
So that's the reason we always keep a good relationship with state representative
Yes.
or state senator, in your area. So for all those viewers, you need to learn the issues. So in the future, you can always go call them, email them, say, hey, this is the way you should vote for or against, to keep those relationships going on so they know, so they want your vote, they have to listen, right?
Very good. As we wrap up, we have one last question for the mayors, and it's really around yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So in that, what is one formative lesson that you learned from last year, a present gratitude that you have today, and a future excitement for your time as being mayor? So who wants to take it? That was hard.
I can go.
Kevin.
I think, I would just sum up the past is that difficulty brings strength and growth. And we've been through that difficult time, and I think it's brought all of us strength and growth. Present, I would just say, again, and I don't say this just because these guys are sitting here. I love the fact that Carrollton sits here in this Metrocrest area, and that we have the relationships that we have as mayors, as cities, as business community. We say this all the time, and it applies to the Metroplex in general in North Texas, but especially with us, is that our residents benefit from all three of our cities, and we benefit from Addison Airport. We're sitting here in Firehouse Theater. Our residents love coming down here. They don't know when they're passing those city lines. Our city lines are so funky, I sometimes don't remember whether I'm in Farmers Branch, Carrollton, or Addison. You drive Midway Road, you're going to go through all of this, right?
You got it.
So that I would say that's a present thing that I really appreciate. And then future for me, I would just say we've been through that valley, the mountaintop's coming. And so that's what I look forward to.
Thank you, Mayor Falconer. Robert?
In terms of the lessons from the last year, and you kind of touched on it, but it's something that I always preached when I first got into office, which is innovation. And because of all the challenges that we had to innovate to get out of that. We had to innovate to keep businesses open, but we shouldn't only innovate when times are tough. We need to keep looking for how do we evolve as a city, and how do we continue to get stronger, and how do we look within ourselves always to say, is there a better way to do this? Because, if you're not growing or changing, you're dying. And I think, through this, Farmers Branch has found new life and new opportunities. I mean, all of our restaurants now, you can dine outdoors where you couldn't do that before. And it's been definitely a breath of fresh air for some of these businesses. Huh?
Literally.
Yeah, exactly. Well done. But, in terms of the present, I think it's a recognition of what we have. I mean, I don't know, Joe's been mayor before, so he could touch on that, but I think the friendship and the connectivity that we have the ability to call and actually just not only, hey, I'm having issues with this or we need to talk about this, it's just can sit around and just shoot the breeze and have those familiar conversations, I think is something that I treasure, and it's the relationships that I've built with the staff and the people within the city that it's just, when you think about understanding where you were almost 5 years ago to where you are today, is just fascinating, but definitely something that I'm appreciative of. And then as I look to the future, I look to not take the final 18 months for granted. These first 4.5 years, almost 5 years, have flown by. I'm going to be almost 40 when I'm about to get out of office. And I know that's shocking for these two. But, to think I was closer to 30 when I started, and now I'm getting towards the end of that spectrum, it's appreciate the time because it's going to go quick. And what I need to realize is what we're building for isn't during my term. We're building for 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and understanding that and being able to appreciate that when things finally happen, when you're out of office, you can look back and reflect on the decisions you made then and in these coming months that hopefully set your community up for much success.
Exactly.
So, since pandemic, then we had a winter storm.
Yep.
So we learned a lot of hardship and a hard lesson. But we're coming out from there, and we became stronger and more united. Even neighbors help neighbors. It's so it was so touching. So the water pipe burst, oh, live with us, stay with us. It's just you don't even need to ask. So even all three communities stay so much together with all the joint dispatching system, a fire training system. So we are just so close. And I tell you, even though with the pandemic, we still have a great revenue. It's just unexpected, just never. Nobody can expect, we still have a great sales tax revenue and then property tax revenue. It's just unexpected. We were really fortunate. So I'm even more optimistic with the future because the Silver Line finally.
Yes, you finally get a train station.
Not yet, but coming in.
Eventually.
So it still take 2, maybe at most 3 years. But we found a massive developer trying to do the massive, transit-oriented developments. It's huge. So in other words, when you have that started, and then eventually your tax revenue going up, right? So even though we are not for profit, but you also have to remember, we have to have enough revenue to provide superior services to the people who live, work, and play in Addison, right? So you have to be business-minded. So I'm very proud to be mayor of Addison. Again, I want to thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity to reach out to all the chamber members, know and what we have done for them, right?
Absolutely.
3 great cities. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. We're now at the part of the program where we'll have our question and answer time. We'll get some questions from our audience. Anyone can submit at this time.
Guess maybe everybody's very satisfied with
Yeah,
our
they
answers.
thought we did
So
It means
no
we
questions.
asked the right ones.
We
Yes.
answered everybody's questions. That would be great. We'll wait a few seconds. Any other closing comments that you all have as mayors in that gap of time?
So I believe, Robert and I, we're going to term out at the same time, right?
All three of us.
All three of
All
us.
three of them.
Yeah, we're going to all term out sometime.
Big party.
Yeah, 2023, May
write that
2023.
down?
Yeah.
Exactly,
May
May
16th.
2023.
May
We will be
16th.
hosting the big party for the outgoing mayors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that will be definitely the end of an era, because you all have, as you expressed before, you all have built a brotherhood, and many other cities would love to have that type of brotherhood, and we hope that in the next phase of mayors that you all can show them, or your legacy of what you all have built can continue on with the next set.
We switch the lunch.
We're supposed to have
Lunch
lunch.
day
We're supposed to
today.
be having lunch right now at May
Yeah, at
Dragon,
May
but
Dragon, yeah.
we decided it'd probably be
but
better
since
to be
we're going
here.
to do this, we postpone to next
We
Wednesday.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. We appreciate that.
Well,
So
I
Robert,
think-
you were coming back anyway.
Like I think
it goes.
October 13th is something. Oh, yeah.
Right at the same time.
Yeah. 11:30, remember?
Yeah.
No, I mean, Gabe, I will,
Yeah.
I guess unless we have a question. Do we have a question? Oh. I guess to add on to this, do want to thank you for your leadership over the years on the board. And I know Ben's not here, but thank him as current president. And
Thank you.
Hayden, just want to wish you the best of luck trying to make this electric, as you said. But, it definitely takes a team, as you see us three coming together, but the Metrocrest Chamber's ability to serve all three of our cities and to do so without any purpose or drive to benefit one over the other. You truly has worked over the years to say we are supporting Farmers Branch, Addison, and Carrollton, each in the same amount of energy and effort, and just continuing to see that going forward. I mean, we're just going to continue to be an even stronger region, and so y'all's leadership and help with that and advocacy for our business community, I think, is truly tremendous, and definitely excited to see you grow in this position and take over leadership and hopefully take us to some new heights. So just want to wish you that as you move forward. And Gabe, definitely want to thank you for everything you do, not only at Thomson Reuters, not only for the Metrocrest Chamber, but in Dallas as a whole, because it definitely goes wider than what people
Thank
know.
you, Mayor Dye. Thank y'all.
I'd echo the same thing, Gabe, and thank you so much for doing this, giving us this opportunity. I want to thank all the businesses too.
Yes.
You know, we are all, you've heard, we're not career politicians. We don't get paid for this part of the job.
Not with this hair.
And we all are business people. And so we understand the difficulties that are out there, the things the challenges, and I think all of us want to recognize those businesses for creating the great atmosphere, and that's where much of our growth comes. And so we know that, and we want to thank every one of them.
Thank you so much.
You both have done a great job in moderating this Mayor's Forum. So maybe one day you consider change your job.
Yeah.
Be a moderator.
Yeah.
You both did a great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
You answered all the questions.
We got through it. I'll turn it over to Hayden to close us out.
Okay,
Yes.
Great. Well, again, I want to echo with all three of the mayors. I want to provide some thank yous. First of all, I want to thank those of you at home, at work, at the coffee shop, wherever you are tuning in today. Thank you so much for investing in the chamber and investing in these three cities. We really appreciate that. Of course.
Can I pause you?
Yes.
I'm just sorry.
Yeah.
I think we do have one question.
We do?
So before we close it out,
Let's do it.
I'm so sorry because we want to get to the question.
Here, I will let you
All
present
right.
that.
Okay. As a fiber optic company located in Carrollton, what resources and opportunities are available locally within the towns or the chamber?
Well, so first, the chamber offers a lot of those, right? So do that. But Robert Winningham, our economic development director, does a great job of interfacing with our businesses. And I would recommend, and if you have any problems, connecting with Robert, which he's easy to get to, but my information is always right there on the website, kevin.falconer@cityofcarrollton.com, and send it to me, and I'll get it to Robert. But we do have small business forums, and we have other larger business forums as well to bring businesses together that can help each other in those regards. But yes, we're happy to help. We want to help.
And from the chamber perspective, I'll let Hayden respond to that.
Yeah, so ways that you can get involved. We have so many opportunities that we would love for you to reach out to us. We're bringing on staff for the chamber, and we would love for you to reach out to us so that we can help you get connected to our community with our ambassadors, with our board members, with our cities at monthly events, quarterly events, annual events, some which I will explain here in a minute.
Yeah. So we hope we answered the question, and we hope that you will be engaged with the chamber and the cities. That'd be great. Back over to you.
Okay, we're good on questions? All right, thank you so much for submitting that. We appreciate you engaging with us. And so again, thank you at home, wherever you're at. I want to extend a very, very large thank you to you three.
Yes.
We know that you work full-time. We know that you are also full-time mayors as much as you possibly can be. But we also know that you invest more than we could possibly ask for with everything that you do. So it's been a joy for a month, and we're going to keep it going. So thank you to the three of you. And then I want to again mention our sponsors. Our sponsors today made a lot of this happen, and I want to list them off again. We had Truist Bank, Thomson Reuters, Oncor, Republic Services, Linebarger, Goggan, Blair, and Sampson. Those were our platinum. Our gold is Town of Addison, City of Carrollton, and City of Farmers Branch. Our silver were Nations Brewing and Atmos Energy. And then our bronze were Coppell Independent School District and North Dallas Bank and Trust Co. We'd also like to again mention that Ida Claire at their Addison location provided lunch today. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to enjoy that. And then again, thank you to Firehouse Theater to be able to have this venue, it's set up, and be able to put this event on. We can't thank you enough. I've got two more things before we let you go. One, our events. Again, I mentioned that a second ago, and we really, really want you to start to connect with us. The first one that I want to put right in front of you that you can click on right after you click off of this and you finish your lunch, okay? It is our second, technically speaking, luncheon. So it is the second series. We had the first one during the summer. This one is next Tuesday, October 19th. It will be at the Addison Treehouse. You can go on to our website and go ahead and register now. We have spots for 50 attendees. Tickets are $15. That gets you in the door. That gets you lunch. And it allows you to hear from George Finney. George Finney is a Chief Information Security Officer at SMU, and he's also the author of Well Aware. And so he is coming to speak to our business communities from all three cities about cybersecurity. So please, please, please put that on your calendar. You can go register for it at this moment or when we're done. And then secondly, I want to get you excited for something in the future, our annual awards. Our annual awards will be here, and world willing, they will be in person. So we want you to come and celebrate the past year that we've had, celebrate our businesses, and celebrate our community. So we will be getting more information about that to you. So finally, we're talking about all this fun stuff, but how do you continue to figure out about it? We need you to do a couple things. One, if you can sign up for our newsletter. If you're like, Hayden, this all sounds great, but I'm not getting any communication, then you can go to our website and one of our tabs says the newest newsletter, and you can sign up for that and you will start receiving emails. And then secondly, boy, are we on social media. Talk about electric, okay? I will use all the emojis I can to get you to come to an event. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'm going to stop there. We might add more, okay? All right, so thank you so much. Again, today, thank you to everybody who put on this event. We appreciate your time. We hope that you connect with us in the future, and the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce appreciates you. Have a wonderful day.